What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com at Paradigm Performance in Elgin, Illinois. The best place if you're an elite athlete or simply an old guy like me trying to maintain your performance, or if you just want to walk correctly at a later age, or if you want to learn how to deadlift correctly, squat correctly, bench correctly, walk correctly, skip correctly. What the hell don't we do here? I can skip like a mofo. My skipping skills are on point. Anyway, Dr. Stu, you guys know him from the series on core strength and all that. And what we want to do is come in here today and do a couple things and just bring it back, because this channel is about more. You're going to see me, like, you go to other channels on YouTube or other fitness, you know, other than like the functional guys, you don't normally see a 240-pound bodybuilder skipping, or a 240-pound bodybuilder doing the Spider-Man, or a 200, or Supermaning that hoe. I Superman that hoe. You normally don't see that, and there's a reason why. There's a reason why even though I'm large, I look funny doing it, I admit it, I look funny as shit doing it, but I can still do stuff that athletes do, and I can still perform, and I still have energy, and I don't walk like this, you know, I can move. And the reason being is that I have Stu, and so we're able to do some things. And one thing I learned when I came to Dr. Stu is kind of reinventing myself and learning shit that we learned at like 1 year old. How to walk correctly, how to squat correctly. Squat's a primal movement. I mean, you know, I was reading an article the other day on Mercola. I know, forgive me for reading it, but the guy's a marketing genius. You're gonna get cancer if you don't take this. If you ever read his emails are brilliant. I don't know if they're right, but they're fucking brilliant. Anyway, but there was an article on how the reason people are constipated, they have hemorrhoids, is because they use a toilet, and they were actually telling people just shit like this. I don't have the muscular endurance to shit like that. So I mean, what I'm getting at is the basics. And Stu and I were talking earlier about like getting the basics. Like, don't forget the basics. Now, what do you mean by that? Like, when you talk to your elite, you're looking at, he's talking about like athletes, like D1 pro athletes. I mean, professional soccer players, whatever it be, and he's having them do like primitive stuff.
Yep.
So,
and I think this is a topic that a lot of even the elite trainers and the elite training systems are starting to utilize again, is because so many of the athletes now are looking at these, you know, I'm going to call them outrageous, because they look spectacular on film, and they are. But a lot of the times they're just like, oh, that looks cool, I want to do that. Yeah. But you start to lose the grounds for why they were developed. Yeah. If you don't have a good foundation to begin with, then all the extra frou-frou stuff that you add on top of that, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. So ultimately, what are we looking for in performance? Are we looking for efficiency of the body? Can the body move well? Does it have the right fueling sources? And then obviously, you know, how much power, speed, and endurance can you generate from that? It's automatically going to come with more efficiency. So, and all the efficiency comes from all these basic primal movements, like what you said. Yeah. Which there are 7 patterns that we must learn. And these are really derived from, if you ever watch a child develop, I mean, they hit these pediatric milestones.
Have you seen your kids squat?
Yes.
My kid's squat form is on point. I mean, it's
and they
like,
learn it on their own.
And it's not. You don't have to go to Dr. Stu or me, but you're born with the ability to squat.
Yes.
Along the way, stuff happens that messes it up.
Yeah.
And it's movement patterns. And I mean, I just did an article about this on the content side on Tiger Fitness. Yeah. You remember when I talked about movement patterns? Like, children can literally learn in 10 repetitions what would take us 10,000. Yes. I mean, that's a hyperbole, but it's dramatic. It's dramatic because we have, basically our mind's tainted. Our mind is sullied with other movement patterns that we've developed and all this. And so with kids, it's a clean slate. Yeah. You're going in, learn how to, like with Cammie. Okay, the first time she's like, and then all of a sudden she's doing it perfect. And I'm still like, whatever. So we have a control group right there. My daughter. Yeah, but the movement patterns that I found, like when I had my back injury and I had back pain from my early 20s. 22 is when I remember first having. It was after I dislocated. I know it was 19. It was when I dislocated my pelvis in football. And I remember I had pain, lower back pain, pretty much up until I was 33, and I moved to Elgin. Yeah. And basically, Stu essentially took me back to being a baby. Now, for you older people, remember that show Mork and Mindy? They had a baby but it started as an old guy,
Yeah,
and then it went backwards till it was a baby. So I don't know why I brought that up. I used to watch a lot of Nick at Night, but that's essentially what happened. Is you had this old guy, and we brought
Benjamin Button.
yeah. Oh God.
There you go, Sean's body.
Sean will know that shit.
Yeah.
But you have basically. I went back to essentially the basic movements, and that's how I've been able to. I've had no back pain since probably March, and I injured my back pretty bad in November, and that's when I looked and I'm like, okay, we got to start over. We got to take 10 steps back.
Yeah.
And essentially, that's what I think a lot of you need to look at. Like I did a whole video on this channel on skipping. Yep. Skipping. Have you ever tried showing an adult how to skip?
Yeah. It's tough,
especially if a non-athlete.
They start and then they'll do like same arm, same leg, or they'll just stop in their tracks, and I don't know how to do it.
I filmed myself running, and I actually had a video from when I did a film in Muscle Tech. It's the day I tore my hamstring, actually. And if you look at my form now, even like not trying, I'm opposite arm, opposite leg. But when that Muscle Tech thing, I'm like, So once you ingrain that movement pattern, we actually do go to have an actual movement. And that's where squatting, deadlifting, so you learn different things, like different paces. Like, for example, a kettlebell swing, the hip hinge. Yeah. Like you're coming here and you're like this, That's how you do it. And so, but when you're doing a squat, you have that natural hip hinge. So, you can, at the top, get that hip hinge. Yep. And that's something, or when you're going down, you automatically have that movement. So I think what athletes do, what I'm seeing a lot in professional training, is they're essentially taking parts of the movement and doing just that part. Yep. And that's what, if you look at the lower back here, I'll just link the playlist down below. But if you look at what Stu does, essentially it's a lot of the movement patterns, but broken up into a small division. Yep. Like Kegeling, like the kettlebell swing, like things like that. Yep. So a lot of it is taking parts of like the squat and deadlift and major lifts and isolating it into that one movement. That's what I notice most. I'm like, wait a second, we do that move. Yeah. And a lot of people just get in, okay, squat, deadlift, and you look at form, and you're like, wow, that form's pretty good. But then you're like, if you really micro-analyze it, and I still have so far to go in perfecting my form, because again, I started late. But I mean, a lot of you guys watching this, you're in your early 20s, you're in your teens. You can start now. So when you're 34, you don't have to go back to when you're 12. Yeah. And figure out how to squat again, how to run again. And once you get into bad movement patterns, it's really... And I speak from experience, because y'all been talking shit about my form for years. You're probably right, but I'm like, I'm big, so shut up. But at the end of the day, you know what? If you fix those movement patterns now, you're going to have less chance for risk of injury if you're doing what your body is meant to squat. Yeah. Not necessarily with 600 pounds on your back, but your body's meant to squat. Sure. So by actually learning how to do it correctly. Yep.
And I think a lot of it just arises because of the society we live in. We sit in chairs, we sit in sofas. It's the comfy life. So, but like to your point exactly, when they go to the bathroom in third world countries, they don't have a toilet. They're squatting to hit a spot in the ground. So they're constantly hitting up those points. And a lot of the performance stuff lately, we talk about these guys like, okay, if you're sitting in a chair, if I were to take that chair away from you, would you be assuming that position? No. So we're teaching a lot of bad habits, and 6 to 8 hours a day, it's hard to compete against maybe 1 hour of maybe training or performance, which most of it is really not performance-based anyway.
So we're going to take this a bit off course. Stand-up desks. Now, I've seen data one way, data the other way, or it's not even data. It's more like, okay, here's one dude saying something, one dude. I don't think they've had a lengthy study on standing desks. But like IKEA sells them, we're buying new desks for the warehouse. And this is actually a real question because I can show you on our Slack. We have Slack. It's an inter-office. We communicate with each other through it. Yep. And we're deciding what kind of desks to get in our new warehouse we just purchased. What would you say to standing desks? Do you think you can alternate? What's your opinion?
I actually like them. Your brother has one.
Yes, he does.
And so here's
He's
the thing.
tall, so his desk is like up here. I have to fucking get a step stool.
But think of it. If you're standing, you can actually create glute activation. You can activate your transverse abdominis, which is the thing that pulls, the muscle that pulls all your gut material, all your abdominal contents in.
I had to have surgery to get those back in.
Titanium screws. And then here's the other thing too, is you're in a weight-bearing position now, right? So we're creating the demand in the bones physiologically to create that drive in, to create more bone density.
So would you do it barefoot too?
I would do it barefoot too.
He does everything barefoot, except for sex.
I am wearing shoes right now.
He's like, no, I got to wear my heels for this.
Yeah.
Got to keep it interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So stand-up desk. So essentially, I think the moral of the story is get as primitive as possible, you know. And I've kind of tried to break the but I'll notice that I'm so conditioned to not standing. Like Sean and I did that in-store event from literally 10 to 4, and then we trained.
Yep.
But standing on my feet all day, should I really, from doing something you should be doing, should I really have lower back pain and foot pain from standing all day? No.
Yep.
But that just shows you I have something to work on. But I'm competing against being in the workforce. I started at Weider at 19. I was either in a car or at a desk all fucking day. So, I mean, you're literally taking something. I'm competing against a lot. Now, I'm able to, you know, it's just so easy to sit down, though. But, I mean, think about it. If you train for it and your body adapts to it, standing should theoretically be just as easy.
Yep.
Now, also, with thinking, here's another thing. I read an article. I've been reading on this because I'm trying to figure out what kind of furniture to get. Like, they say that you can actually think better when you're sitting. I'm not seeing that. I think it's actually the opposite, because I think you're activating more stuff when you're standing.
Absolutely.
Because you're all about like the IQs and I mean the Z health, and that's all about. Like I remember I was at the Arnold, and it was a week after my surgery, which was, by the way, a bad choice. And you had me do like this shit with my hands, and all of a sudden my eyes stopped twitching as bad. So, in my opinion, if you're activating your body, you're less likely to get tired. Like how often you stand and you're like, I can't stay awake. But when you're sitting in your desk, you're like, I need to lay down. I'm tired. I mean, because you know, I mean, that's what I notice is that I don't get tired when I'm standing,
right.
But I get drowsy when I drive and when I'm at my desk, and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately for me, I mean, the majority of what I do is I'm active. I'm with my patients. I'm with my athletes. I'll tell you when I mean, obviously for medical purposes, I have to do documentations. I hate sitting at my desk, so I'll try and, you know, carry a laptop around and document that way. But when I'm in that office, I hate it, to be honest.
I think you're at a level in your career where you could just walk around and dictate and have like some cute little Swedish girl just type that shit in for you. I'm sure they got Judson probably has a few interns. You just no, but anyway, the goal of this video is just to go back and say get a little more primitive. You know, I mean, that's what it's all about, because once you get into these improper movement patterns, even sitting, and I know there's going to be a lot of armchair scientists out there, oh, Stu's an idiot, Marc's an idiot, but see, he's the smart guy. I'm just a guy who's been in pain for years, who's not in pain anymore, and who's lifting heavier weights now than I've ever lifted in my life, and I'm in my mid-30s, and that's not old. In fact, that's a athletic peak, in my opinion, unless you're a running back. Then you got 2 years and you're out. But at the end of the day, if you're in pain from your entire decade of your 20s and 3 years into your 30s, and then all of a sudden you have no pain, I don't care if there's data. And a lot of you guys be like, oh, you're a bro scientist. Fuck, okay, I'm a bro scientist. All I know is I'm not in pain now. I'm standing here, my back feels good, I can skip. And at the end of the day, I'm speaking anecdotally, I'm speaking empirically, and you just got to get more primitive, and you got to get out of your comfort zone. And if you're at a home office, you know, just try to get up. And if you do have to sit in an office job, one thing I used to do at Weider is I used to just make sure because I'll forget. I'll start writing an article or something, I'll forget. I'll get on a call. Drink enough water so you have to pee like every 30 or 45 so you get up. The worst thing you could do is sit in a fixed position. Even when I drive, it might take me 2 more hours to drive somewhere, but I make sure to get up every hour and a half at least. I mean, or else you ever get up after a long ride, you're like, oh. So just allow some extra time to get off the road, and you know, park far away. Like if you stop at a rest stop, park as far away as possible. Get your blood moving. You know, activate some shit. And those are just my little things. But essentially, no matter if you're a pro bodybuilder, pro hockey player, just remember that there's 24 hours in a day. And again, competing against 8 hours at a desk with 1 hour of training, you're still losing.
If I can add, I mean, you're absolutely right. And a lot of what we do is like, it'll be anecdotal, but it'll be because we read something or we were taught something or read it in our research. So, I mean, you and I are pretty much like clinicians. We have to apply it. And what's the first thing when I came out of school? It's like, oh, you expect everything to be this perfect world. You read it in a textbook. Your first patient you see, you're like, that's not textbook. So you have to use your brain and your experience and apply apply all the information, and then get a feedback. And that's how you drive your treatment plans, training plans. And so back to, again, all the primal stuff, people say, oh, well, I'm just going to do squats, it's so boring. Well, think of what they're starting to use as evaluations for elite athletes now. Like, for example, the broad jump. You know, we just talked about it at a summit, and Nick Winkleman is a great performance guy. That every person should be able to broad jump their height. And you look at these top combine guys, I mean, they're jumping 12 feet now. This is ridiculous. But what do you need to do in order to be able to broad jump? You better be able to squat. You better be able to decelerate your speed. So if you can't work on these elements and don't have the basic knowledge or performance factors, then you essentially have no business trying to try those complicated movements, because you're really going to damage your body. So.
And just because you're an elite athlete doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to those things, or just because you're a specified athlete. I always say train for specificity, but I still go outside twice a week with my daughter and do the same shit she does for soccer.
Yeah.
I don't play soccer, but it's made me a better overall bodybuilder because I'm able to take those movement patterns from soccer and apply them. And I mean, who the hell bodybuilding is not only the worst thing you could do for your internal health, as far as dieting to obscenely low body fat levels, but I think it's also the worst thing you could do for your structural skeletal health, because these guys cannot fucking move. Have you ever seen, other than me, like a bodybuilder over 220 at my height? They walk so goddamn slow. I don't have the patience to be a bodybuilder. So I mean, you want to really look into how you can become just a better overall athlete, and that will translate better into your sport. That's why we utilize different training. I'm not saying 5 days a week do this, I'm saying do the same bodybuilding shit you do now, but incorporate different kinds of core movement and flexibility training and coordination training and all those different kinds of training, hell, even eyesight training, which I think we'll get in. You've already gotten into on the Z Health series. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to really get into maintaining your overall health, because everybody just goes in to look at my arm workout, look at my leg workout. I'm going hardcore, but I'm going to tell you how I'm able to lift those heavy ass weights and not be in pain. Everybody's like, oh, you're Snap City. No, I'm not going to go to Snap City. I know what I'm doing here. So anyway, man, thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And again, Paradigm Performance, Elgin, Illinois. It's the best facility there is, at least that I know of in the Midwest. I mean, you got a lot of different training. So you got Ed Cohn's Quads Gym if you want to power lift, or you go to Ohio, you got a few West Side and all those guys. But if you're looking at something that not only focuses on getting a lot of weight, in some cases taking a lot of drugs. Not going to say who that is. This is a place you want to look at. Guys, I'm Marc Lobliner, tigerfitness.com. Stu, thanks for the time.
Yeah,
again, the background is Paradigm. Because getting back to basics and shitting in a hole, that's not a game.